Hey everybody. You know, as you can probably see in the title there, I'm asking the question if this is indeed the year of the reboot in comic books. I mean, as you all know, I review the Sonic comic books, and I'm going to come out and say right now that, as I mentioned before, I'm going to put a hold on my review of the current issues, starting with 231, but probably now mostly 230 at the most, at the earliest. You know, to me, I really don't understand this whole relaunch and this whole rebooting thing when it comes to comic books. Doesn't matter, you know, what comics they are. I mean, I understand you're trying to attract in new readers and all that, but come on. Honestly, you want to relaunch some of your most popular comic book titles out there? I mean, when I remember, I can definitely recall when DC Comics made the announcement that they were going to relaunch all 52 of their titles. Basically saying they're relaunching all their books. And the first thing that went through my mind, because this was about at the same time we got word that this is about around the same time that Genesis was fast approaching in Sonic, and we had gotten word through various interviews that that was going to be a bit of a soft reboot, if you will, a soft relaunch. And the first thing that went through my mind back then, and it goes through my mind right now, is what is going on? What's with this whole relaunch and whole rebooting with Archie Comics, DC Comics, and now apparently it looks like it may be Marvel Comics as well. Yeah, according to ToonZoneForums.net, it seems that Marvel has a teaser, a couple of teasers up saying, Marvel, it's coming. But we don't know what that is. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have already speculated that it could be their own version of a relaunch or a reboot. But here's my question, why? Why do we need a reboot? Of all the, why are they doing this? Why are Archie Comics? Why is DC? Why is Marvel doing this? I mean, I'm not sure if Marvel's doing it, but right now, why is Archie and DC doing it with some of their titles? Again, the only thing I can think of is they're trying to attract in new readers. That I understand. But if you could afford to do spin-offs of all your current comics, of all your current comic books, some of your most popular comic books, if you could do spin-off after spin-off after spin-off, couldn't you do a separate line that says, hey, this is a separate line for new readers and new fans to be attracted to? I mean, I mentioned this when I talked about Genesis. You know, I have no problem, and I completely understand Genesis's reasoning of being in the continuity of the Sonic comic books, but to me, honestly, if you can launch off a spin-off based on Sonic X, and then launch a spin-off out of that directly into a new comic book that takes its place called Sonic Universe, then why can't you just say, hey, let's do a 4-part mini arc, or mini comic, 4-part mini comics, or 4-part mini-series issue of comics based on Genesis? Why couldn't you do that? I mean, here's the thing, back in the day, this is what some people complain about. Back in the day, you know, Archie Comics, they did several spin-offs. Even if they were 3 to 4 issues, they did several spin-offs. They did one for Tails, Sally, Knuckles, which got turned into a book. They did one for Death Egg. They did one for Mecha Mad. I mean, the list just goes on and on. But yet they don't decide to do that with Genesis. Again, though, I can understand why it was part of the main continuity. I can understand that. But at the same time, here you have one of the head writers and the editor saying it's going to be a bit of a soft reboot. A soft reboot within the main continuity, and then having the result that you're going to have next month, you know, which explains why I'm going to keep my reviews of the current issues on hold. You know, are you serious? Are you serious? I mean, I can understand if you did that in a spin-off and then work that way into the continuity, but come on, honestly? And then you also have now you have DC, which has become the major news article, the news item throughout the summer and all that, saying that they're relaunching all 52 of their titles for new readers. Basically, they're rebooting everything. And my first thought is, why? Why reboot? Why relaunch? I mean, I know you've probably done it several times, but what you had is what people know, is what people are used to seeing. Heck, you base some of your DC original animated movies, on that on what you read in the comics, on what was and is the status quo. So why in the world do you necessarily have to go in that direction and say, okay, we're going to relaunch? I mean, why? I mean, why is it? Because we're in a new decade, officially full-fledged into a new decade? Is that it? Is it because maybe some people at DC, maybe at Archie or Marvel, believe, oh my God, 2012 is the end of the world, we got to do something? Come on, first of all, 2012 is not the end of the world. The end of the world will come when the Lord Jesus Christ comes and raptures us home. That's when it's going to change. Things will really change. That's when you're going to get a real relaunch in reality. A real reboot and relaunch in reality. Second of all, it's not necessary unless, like I said, you separate it and make these spin-offs for newer readers. That's what I would have done, folks. That's what I would have done, and I think a lot of you would agree. And now with the possible speculation that Marvel could be heading in that same direction, let's hope Marvel has enough sense to say, you know what? We should make a separate line of the comics, make a separate relaunch line of the comics. Keep what we have, because that's what fans are used to, but then do a complete relaunch. Well, basically what I'm saying is keep what the fans have, but then do a separate line that's a complete relaunch line. Kind of separate it. Don't keep it in tow. Don't get rid of everything you know. And that's what DC Comics should have done in the first place. They should have made a separate relaunch line and kept the status quo of what we know as fans separate. I mean, heck, there are some comic books on Superman that I got a few years ago, and that's what I'm used to. That's the Superman I'm used to reading. I know they're trying to attract, like I said, I know they're trying to attract new readers and new fans, just like the writer of the Sonic comic books is trying to do with this whole Genesis story arc, the prelude, the actual story arc, the aftermath, the implodge, and the aftermath. But take a look at what's happened there. He's gotten that head writer, despite the best job he's doing, has gotten so many fans angered at him for what he's done that he's trying to calm them down. He's trying to do his best to explain the situation. Well, guess what? You put yourself in that situation, you got to work yourself out. You got to at least give them some kind of hint. I mean, DC Comics at least gave us a hint that everything was going to be relaunched, that things were going to change. They didn't say, oh, well, this is what's going to happen, and that's it. They didn't say just one thing was going to happen and all of a sudden hit us with all this. No, they said everything was going to be relaunched. They didn't just say, oh, a few issues. Oh, by the way, they didn't say that like, oh, a few issues, a few comic titles are going to be relaunched, whatever, and all of a sudden here's all 52 being relaunched. You see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, and the thing is, it doesn't just go for that Sonic comic book. It goes for any comic book by any publisher, by any company. You know? But again, I just don't understand. I mean, again, like I said, what is this? What is this year? The comic book, the year of the comic book relaunch? I just don't understand it. I mean, do you? I mean, it's like if James Wolfe and Doug Walker decided, you know what? We're going to reboot and relaunch our Angry Video Game Nerd and our Nostalgia Critic characters and make them completely different and attracting new fans. Do you think honestly fans would be happy about that? No, because they're used to what they see. It'd be like if Huey Toonmore and the Z-Man, Sean McLean, decided, you know what, we're going to relaunch our shows and make ourselves completely different. And so we can attract in new readers, new fans and stuff. Do you think they would do that? Do you think fans would be happy about that? No. Fans wouldn't be happy about a relaunch of Huey Toonmore, a relaunch of Sean's show, the Multimedia Chronicles. No. They like it the way it is. I mean, I can understand if something is so old from the past, then when it's being brought forward for the future, for the present, for new generations to enjoy. Yeah, I can understand, let's say, something from the 60s. Let's say a comic book title or a cartoon title and all that from the 60s or the 50s or 70s. Maybe even the 80s being brought forward to this time so that you can attract in new readers. I can understand that. I can understand even some shows from the 90s being brought back to be relaunched and rebooted. I can understand that too, but the thing is, at least they acknowledge what they're doing. At least they acknowledge what they're doing, and they allow that show, they allow that franchise, or whatever it is, to be completed, or they make sure it's completed before they relaunch, or they reboot it, or they bring it back for an all-new audience. Same with My Little Pony, Friendship and Magic. They did that several times with My Little Pony shows, and they did it after the original G1 My Little Ponies and G2 My Little Ponies, which was on Disney Channel, were done and completed. You see what I'm saying, folks, is I have no problem with relaunches and reboots, but don't do it during the current situation, during the current continuity, the current status quo of your comics or your shows. Again, what is this? The year of the relaunch in comic books? I don't know. But all I can say is this. Hopefully this will be the last time anything gets rebooted and relaunched. Even if Marvel goes through with it, hopefully it'll be the last time. Because quite frankly, unless it's something from the past that's being brought back for a new generation and it's completed and it's ran its original run, then yeah, that's understandable. But not during the current status quo. Okay? Comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Talk to you later.